Mr. Berkland yesterday mentioned, that you are here and that you are the ones who have accepted the message of Baha'u'llah. Each one of us has to play its specific role in advancing the process of entry by troops and in advancing this universal civilization which will bring about universal peace. About 56 years ago, in 1953, as it was mentioned yesterday, the first worldwide plan of expansion was devised by Shoghi Effendi. And at that time, we had here in Europe just 3 national spiritual assemblies. This was United Kingdoms, Germany and Austria, Switzerland and Italy. Now we have 35 national communities with national spiritual assemblies. So at that time the community was quite small, and you can see what advancement took place in this part of time. Concerning Europe's significance in the world history, Shoghi Effendi wrote, "Europe is occupying a central and strategic position on the entire planet. It is so rich and eventful in its history, so diversified in its culture, from whose soil sprang both the Hellenic and Roman civilization." And we witness this refreshing variety at this conference. And in the message of the Universal House of Justice from 1996 to Europe, we read, "All should recognize that entry by troops is an inevitable stage in the development of the course." And this was to Europe. And since then, the Baha'i community is engaged in advancing this process. I found out that there are 7 requirements in order to foster significant growth in Baha'i communities. This is from the very beginning, you know, when the clusters are still very weak. I'm not now already talking about the IPGs. So the first requirement is definitely unity of vision, that entry by troops will come about and will become a reality. Very often when I ask friends, are you really absolutely convinced that entry by troops will come? And say, well, yes, it's in the writings, and the House of Justice mentioned this, but I cannot really envision how this will take place and when this will take place. Maybe this is for Africa, maybe this is for South America, but Europe, the people are not ready. So I think we have overcome this hesitation. We have now understood that this can be here as well. It's not only that it can be, but that it's already a reality, that not yet entry by troops, but as yesterday it was mentioned in one of the presentations, we had already 3 declarations, so at the beginning of entry by troops. You see, we have overcome, I think, this attitude that we feel comfortable in this small, nice community. And I won't forget, in 1996, there was a national teaching conference here in Germany, and Mr. Abad, member of the Universal House of Justice, happened to be present, and he gave a presentation, and he said at that time, if you are here and you want to feel comfortable, so just you want to feel on ease, you know, with your nice friends, so it's not the right place for you. So go somewhere else. There are other congregations where you will feel much more comfortable. It's important that you realize what you have to do, and it's a lot of work you have to do. You can do it, and it's your obligation. So, and I think this is something which we really should realize, that becoming a Baha'i was mentioned yesterday as well, that this is so important that as soon as you accept the message of Baha'u'llah, you feel responsible to spread this message and to share it with everyone around you, without any exception. So the second is a systematic, realistic, but audacious planning. But the planning according to the guidance of the Supreme Body. If you can do as well a systematic and realistic planning for a social economic development project. You can say, this is what is absolutely needed. I don't have to teach the faith, I want to have this. So I think it's so important that we realize on what we have to focus. We have to focus on the framework of action which was given to us from the Universal House of Justice. It doesn't mean that other activities are not as well necessary, but this is the most important activity which is needed. So this was the third one, activity to be focused on the framework of action. Then acceptance that mistakes will be made. I think we are as well already good in this, that we accept that mistakes are made and that we accept much more latitude of different activities than ever before, that we don't sit on the table and consult what would be conducive to the faith, but we experiment in teaching. And this requires a humble posture of learning. And this, I want just to underline the word humble. This means that, we have, each one of us has its own thoughts and its own vision, what would be conducive to teach the faith. But from each one of us, our perspective is very limited. So we need to accept that, there are others in the community who have a different view, and let them just do what is always needed, that the unity and the dignity of the faith will be preserved. This is what Shoghi Effendi mentioned, but all other activities are conducive when they are somehow in the framework of action. And by this, we are building up a loving relationship to each other. We accept each other, we support each other. And above all, reliance on the guidance and sustained confirmations of Baha'u'llah. This is the real power which brings us forward. And this brings us as well to acquire this humble posture of learning, and as well to follow with happiness all the guidance of the Universal House of Justice. And we know as soon as we move forward, as soon as we rise up, there will be rewards, and which we never would expect. As Abdul Baha says, he unlocketh thousands of doors, while man is incapable of conceiving even a single one. This is his promise. So acceleration in the tempo of individual teaching must necessarily be completed by a multiplication in the number of regional and local teaching projects. First, there is the individual teaching, and then there comes the collective activities. Well, as we are all in this learning process, in 2001, the House of Justice has asked us to do the clustering, which was quite a challenge. I realized when I sat together with some of the National Spiritual Assemblies, it was so difficult to understand that these clusters has to be found out according to non-Baha'i perspectives. Because they were always thinking, well, we look, where do we have Baha'i communities, so we build a cluster like this, and where are this, and then we always had to say, no, first we have to look from the non-Baha'i perspective. How are the people living together? Because we are reaching out. And this aspect of reaching out to the population at large is something which we have already now learned and have accepted. It was just a move, a very crucial move forward. So, and by this, we have now, as it is mentioned in the message to this conference, already 18 intensive programs of growth. And these are 2 in Austria, 1 in Belgium, 2 in France, 6 in Germany, 1 in Hungary, 1 in Luxembourg, 2 in Netherlands, 2 in Switzerland, and 1 in Slovakia. So these are all 18. And this is in 9 countries of the 11 countries which are present here. So almost each national community has already some experience with an